SMU's defense is going to be tested big time tonight against Cal. Can the Mustangs defense actually play better, or will SMU have to hang 90 to get a road win in the quad one?
You are Locked On SMU, your daily podcast on the SMU Mustangs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On SMU here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Appreciate you making us your first listen of the day. Our episode today is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. We put that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. Make sure you stay tuned for highlights in this week's Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Coming up on the show today, in the wake of the $50 million gift, SMU now has an incredible selling point to athletes. We'll talk about that in the second segment. Plus, what do the tournament hopes look like now for the Mustangs following the win over Boston College, and how can they be affected by tonight's game? Talk about that to close up the show. But first, by the way, I'm Grayson Singleton. Glad you're making us your first listen of the day, and thanks for spending part of your day with me. So SMU is going to have a tough challenge tonight against Cal, defensively. And the Mustangs have not been good defensively all season long. This is a battle, actually, between things that Cal does well and two things within the defense that SMU does not. Now, if you just look at the raw point per game, like Cal is a middle-of-the-road scoring team in the ACC. That's not going to blow you away. They're 11th in points scored per game. But there are two things Cal does well that SMU does not counter very well. Those two things are getting into the paint and shooting the three ball. Cal is the third best three-point shooting team in the ACC behind NC State and SMU. They shoot at 37.6%, which is a really good clip. The same clip, by the way, that SMU shoots it at. They also average the third most free throws shot per game. So that tells you, that, especially the second one, that they are very good at getting their way into the paint and drawing contact and shooting free throws. You've heard me talk about this before a lot. The Mustangs are not good at keeping people out of the paint. Now, the easy answer to that is, okay, well, SMU just goes zone. Well, the way to bust a zone is to shoot them out of it. Now, the Mustangs have played, with the exception of Syracuse, they have played the zone pretty decently well. Boston College, it just completely befuddled Boston College, and that is really what allowed SMU to settle in defensively. The Eagles could not shoot them out of it, and SMU was able to run away with that game. So, if there is a carryover from Saturday's game against Boston College, Andy Enfield could easily say, well, we played the zone very well. This is another kind of middle-of-the-road ACC team. Let's see if we can get to the zone and make it effective if we are not effective in keeping them out of the paint in the man-to-man defense. I think that could be a remedy to that. But the Mustangs are also going to have to be able to defend the three, just because Cal shoots it at such a high clip. And the Golden Bears are a team that, even though if you look at the total of their season, is not a very high scoring team. They scored in the high 70s, in the mid high 70s. In ACC play, if they've needed to score to keep up, I mean, look at the Syracuse game where they went 107-100 with Syracuse in a loss. They are capable of putting up points. They hung 85 on Georgia Tech. And Miami as well. So they're able to score the basketball. But one of my points of concern for this game is going to be, is this a game where Andy Enfield can get more out of his defense? Because you're on the road, quad one opportunity against a team that is still playing for something. They've been hanging around the bubble for the last month or so. And they're going to be at home. They're going to be familiar with the confines, rims, dimensions, how the backdrop looks from behind the basket. I promise you guys this matters. This really does matter. And I'm wondering, can Andy Enfield get something more out of his perimeter defense? Can he get Boopy Miller to play the best defense he's played? Obviously, BJ Edwards is going to give it to you defensively. I'm interested to see what he does with the rotation in terms of Sam Walters, who, sure, he tries on defense, but he's not very good. Can they get more rim protection without fouling from Samed Igotolu? I think those are all going to be questions that will most definitely come into play in this game today, because Cal is going to try to get into the paint and draw fouls. They're very good at it. I mean, shooting 21 free throws per game is a very nice clip. And then you back that up by shooting 38% from three. So SMU is going to have to be buttoned up, and they're going to have to come in with a good plan too. They have to come in with a very good plan. And the circumstances don't shake out all that favorably because you just played on Saturday, had to get on a plane and game plan on a plane and whatnot. So you're coming in a little bit shorthanded due to the schedule, but that's something that everybody has to face. But ultimately, you're going to have to get something more from your defense. Or you can do what SMU's been doing all season long and win a sprint. First one to 85. And right now in the ACC, except for a very few amount of teams, there's not many teams I would take over SMU in a race to 85. So if the Mustangs are not going to keep Cal out of the paint, and if they're not going to make Cal shoot less than 35% from three, there's not another team in the ACC that I'd say, all right, cool, just beat them to 85. I think the Mustangs can do that with the way that they attack. Cal is not a great defensive team, but with the way the Mustangs can attack you offensively from multiple directions, obviously they can go into the interior where they're now offensively too deep with Igotolu and with Jaden Toombs as well. Both of them can be offensive threats from the interior. Igotolu can step out and stretch the floor a little bit as well. And then obviously the array of guards that you got with Pierre and Boopy and BJ. Jermaine O'Neal's coming off an awesome game. I'm interested to see if he can keep that momentum going. I think that is something to watch in this game as well. But ultimately, I would like to see a little bit more defense against a team that is not elite offensively, but has some strengths that counter your weaknesses. I would like to see more defense, but if they can't get it and they just continue to live up to being a bad defensive team, like we've become accustomed to them being, let's keep it real here, keep it a buck. If they're not going to give you that, well, I feel good about SMU, because if it's going to be a shootout and a race to 85, I'll give me SMU even on the road to win that race to 85. But it's a big matchup today because it is still a quad one game. SMU could use all the quad ones that are presented to them. So let's see if they get it done. But that's my thoughts. All right, coming up next on Locked On SMU here today, SMU, after a $50 million donation, has a huge selling advantage over a decent amount of schools. I'll tell you what that is next. All right, but first we got to tell you about our friends at Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. These remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, and that grit that says, I never quit. And we've been highlighting over the last couple of days Jermaine O'Neal Jr. and Jaden Toombs and the improvement that those two freshmen for SMU have shown over the course of the season. They're comfortable in shots. The game is coming to them. And they've really been doing not just their work on the court, but their homework off the court, becoming students of the game. And it really shows that they are now playing within the flow of the game a lot better than they were earlier in the year. And obviously, that's just the progression of being a freshman. But you got to give them credit for the work that they clearly have put in, because otherwise, it would not look like this. We put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there, that is what makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole 9 yards, the whole experience taken care of. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to just go ahead and lock it in. And I love futures this time of year because whether it's picking a team to actually go grab the championship or just a conference title, it adds an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back to the show here on Locked On SMU. Hey, make sure if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Would love to have you be a part of this growing SMU community here on Locked On SMU on the Locked On Podcast Network. Also, make sure you rate us and review us. And if you never miss an episode, I want to tell you about our Everydayer Club as well. It's an ad-free version of this show, so you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other major podcast distributors without ad interruptions. Plus, you will get access to a members-only Discord channel where you can hang out online with a bunch of other Locked On Everydayers as well, plus some of our hosts in the Discord as well. So make sure you tap into the link in the show notes or lockedonsmu.supercast.com. Okay, so SMU got, we all know about this now, over the weekend, a $50 million donation from a combination of families that are going to help with SMU's competitiveness in this new world of NIL, pay for play, whatever you want to say. I have no issues with it, however you want to term it, because I believe players should make money for playing a sport at this kind of level in this kind of industry. So it doesn't bother me if you say pay for play. It doesn't. The reality now becomes that SMU has a very unique selling point to a lot of different players and athletes. And it can go many different ways, right? Football, basketball, soccer, volleyball, the whole nine. Like this, it can reach to a very diverse population and diverse set of athletes. And here, I'm going to break it down for you now. So we've got the $50 million gift that obviously is going to enable SMU to offer more money to a particular athlete, which is why I think the 2027, I guess we'll call it 2027 transfer portal in the football season is going to be so interesting for SMU. The transfer portal immediately following the 2026 season. So come January. But so you already have the ability and the capital to pay people. They are investing in this Boulevard Society, which is going to present athletes with opportunities, as I understand it, to be able to enhance their brand and get it out there and, you know, be spokespeople for the community and commercials and all that type of thing. Obviously, that's in addition to like what you can do on social media and whatnot. But the fact that you're in Dallas, Texas, is also going to play a pivotal role in whichever goals SMU has. Because you're looking at a DFW Metroplex that combines a couple of things. Number one, it is an awesome place to live. It is an outstanding place to live. I haven't lived there in a few years, but grew up there, and it's a great place to live. It is also, for a big city, relatively affordable. Now, why is that? No state income tax, no sales tax on groceries. The last part is the one that people don't really remember. I remember when I first moved to Oklahoma, where I live now, my grocery bill was higher. And I was like, why is my grocery bill? Oh, I'm used to not having sales tax on groceries. It makes a difference. It really makes a difference. I'm telling y'all, somebody that now lives out of the state of Texas. So you've got no state income tax. You've got no sales tax on groceries in a big city that is not, even though it's not the cheapest, it is not New York, California, or Miami. So you've got an entire location and geographical advantage Not to mention that the weather ain't bad down there. It may be hot, but it's not necessarily terrible in Dallas, Texas. One of the reasons when I first started this show that I felt like SMU was going to be an athletic program in the next 3 years that exploded is because of this very thing right here. You knew you had the alumni base that had the potential for financial activity that really changed the game. And then you combine that with what the opportunities are that Dallas is able to present, and the fact that Dallas is a nice place to live financially. If you got some money, you can live pretty nice here for less than you can, say, in a Miami or in an LA or whatever, and you still got that big city. Plus, as an athlete, if you're doing your thing in Dallas, there's not a whole lot of cities that will embrace you as much as DFW will. Because if you're putting on for DFW is going to come back and say, yeah, we love you. If Kevin Jennings goes out and wins the Heisman this year, this is not a proclamation that he will, but if he goes out and wins the Heisman this year, right, then Dallas is going to have him as a celebrity. Let me tell you. And they'll embrace him as well, because Dallas embraces its athletes. Just look at what happened when Luka Doncic was traded. Now, different set of circumstances, different tier of athlete, but I think it's a very good example of what I'm articulating here. So you've got that going for you. But when you look at the fact that you can now pay people top of market, and you look at the fact that you're going to have branding and business opportunities in a big city, because remember, a lot of these colleges are not massive cities, are not in massive cities. Some of them are. I mean, obviously the U is in a big city, but you look at, say, a University of Oklahoma, right? Or a Ole Miss or an Alabama. Those are not in big cities. Now, Norman, Oklahoma is about 20 minutes south of Oklahoma City, but even still, that market size, there's a big discrepancy between Oklahoma City and Dallas, right? Ole Miss is in Oxford, Alabama's in Tuscaloosa. So your opportunities are going to be a little bit more constricted just because there isn't a big metropolitan area that is around there, right? You are right in the heart of Dallas if you're SMU. I mean, you can, in terms of expanding your business and really becoming more of a brand, you are going to have easier opportunities that are much more convenient and, dare I say, closer in Dallas than you would at a lot of other cities. So did SMU necessarily need, was it a necessity that for us to feel good about SMU, did they need a $50 million donation? I would say no. I don't know if they would need that amount. But now it kicks SMU way over the top. It kicks SMU way over the top in this arms race for, all right, who can really present more to these kids, not just financially and by cutting them a check and saying, hey, play for us, here's your check, but offering them opportunities to grow themselves as adults and as brands. To me, that was always the most important thing about NIL. Can you get me on commercials? Can you get me in an area where people are going to become beholden to me? So really, I can set myself up to make more money once my playing days are done. That really, to me, was the foundation of what all of this is. Now, obviously, I am glad that players are making money just strictly for playing, but there is a longer benefit of this. And if SMU's alumni are saying, hey, we're going to get involved, who's to say those alumni, if you play your cards right, won't give you more and more opportunities down the line once you're done playing for SMU? There's a very unique situation going on with SMU athletics. And I think it's setting SMU up to be not just incredibly competitive, but in some instances, set the bar when it comes to this NIL game. Do they have more disposable income than Texas does? I don't know. Maybe they do. Do they have more than Ohio State or Michigan. I don't know. Maybe they do. Miami? I don't know. But they're going to be amongst the top of the top in terms of what they can do to attract the elite athlete. And it's not just because of the money, it's because of the entire puzzle of circumstances that the Mustangs are now going to be able to take advantage of. All right, coming up next, one more segment to go here on this Tuesday edition. SMU's got to get this one against Cal because there's certain things in the tournament that hang in a game like this. Find out next. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you've got to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for in terms of skills, experience, and location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate just stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the 1 minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who actually check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check these boxes. Less stress, less time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. All right, final segment of the show, wrapping it up on this Tuesday edition of Locked On SMU. Grayson Singleton here with all of you. So SMU's tournament hopes are pretty much solidified in terms of making the NCAA tournament, barring some crazy collapse down the stretch of the regular season and a one and done, in the NCAA tournament. The Mustangs are in the ACC tournament, the Mustangs are going to be in the NCAA's big dance. But as we've been talking about over the last couple of days, and if you've missed some of this, make sure you go back and listen to our Friday episode, even our Monday episode as well. We want you guys to never miss an episode because these episodes build on each other. But the goal for SMU now is to see if they can get as high as a 6, right? So you don't have to take on a number 1 or a number 2 in the round of 32 because the 1s and 2s this year projected in the NCAA tournament are really stinking good. Obviously, the one line is probably going to look like some combination of Arizona or some order of Arizona, Duke, Michigan, and Houston. But Houston lost to Kansas last night, so Kansas could potentially vault themselves back into that conversation. Iowa State is in the mix as well. And these are all teams that are indisputably better than SMU. There's no way around it. But if you're SMU, you're wanting to get off of that 7-8 line. And right now, some bracketologists coming out of the weekend still have SMU as an 8, even after the win over Boston College, which is no surprise. It's a quad 3 win, I believe. It wasn't that impressive in terms of a resume enhancer. But that's why they need a game against Cal. And it's also why they need that game against Miami. They need to continue to stack as many quad 1 wins. Just keep stacking them as possible. Now, right now, the Mustangs, in terms of the net, are still sitting pretty good. They're still sitting at 31. If they can get out of the 30s, and I think they could with a quad 1 win tonight, now we start talking about, can you get into that 7 seed range? And then if you can get the game against Miami, who right now Miami is sitting in the net at, give me a second, 35. If you can get back-to-back quad 1 wins against Cal and Miami, now all of a sudden we're thinking, okay, can this team get into the top 25 of the net? SMU, by the way, got 4 votes in the AP poll this week. I don't know if you guys saw that. But right now, it is about not making the tournament. It's about setting yourself up favorably to get to the second weekend of the tournament. I feel confident that SMU can hang with any of the 3 seeds, even though the 3 line is going to be good. The 3 line is going to be great. I mean, that could consist of Kansas. But I feel confident if they get to a 3, okay, we've got something on our hands. But if they end up playing a 1 or a 2 in the second round, it would be a pretty monumental upset if they were to win that game. So what am I looking at from this team going down the stretch to improve? Well, number one, can you get to 500 in the quad 1 by the end of the regular season? That will require 2 things. That will require a win over Cal, and it will require a win over Miami. Because you're not going to get to that 500 mark in quad 1 without that. Stanford right now in the net is 72. Why does this matter? This is something that I have not looked into. But why does this matter? This matters because the quads on the road work 1 to 75 for quad 1, meaning that as long as Stanford hangs around that 70 to 75 range, that could present itself as another quad 1 opportunity and really kind of a backdoor quad 1 opportunity. Two of them against teams that 1 is hanging on the bubble and 2 people just consider an afterthought in the ACC. And then obviously Miami's a really good basketball team. 7-6 in quad 1. If they do that, which basically would say they would probably win out, because I wouldn't see them losing that other game to Florida State. But if they win out 7-6 in quad 1, you have to think of the Mustangs as a real threat to get off the 7 line if they win out in the regular season. Now, obviously, they will have to follow that up with a win or 2 at the ACC tournament. But if they can win out, and it is very, very possible they do this, very possible. I'm not shooting a long shot here. If they do that and they can get off the 7 line and position themselves that with a win in the first round of the NCAA tournament could play a 3 seed, all of a sudden we could be talking about this team a little bit longer than we otherwise thought. And the schedule presents them the opportunity. They have got to get a little bit better defensively. I know I sound like a broken record, and I know I'm probably beating some sort of a dead horse here. But if they can just defend just slightly better, they got a real shot to do something pretty cool and get off of that and go into the NCAA tournament as a 6 seed. It will take a lot. It will take winning out. It would probably take an upset in the NCAA tournament, maybe, but it would definitely take an ACC tournament win. They would need to win at least one game and maybe upset somebody else. But I think a 6 seed is in play here for the Mustangs, given the schedule. 3 very winnable quad 1 opportunities for a team that right now is 31 in the net. It would be hard to do. You would probably need some people to stumble that are in front of you, but they could certainly do it. And I'm interested to see if they can pull it off. All right, that'll do it for Locked On SMU here today, here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Appreciate all of you making it be your first listen of the day. Make sure you tap into our Everydayer Club as well. It's $5 a month or $50 for the entire year. That gives you Discord access to Locked On SMU members only, plus some of our hosts are going to be in there as well. And you can also get an ad-free version of this show compatible with all major podcast distributors. All right, for your second listen of the day, if you're on the audio side, make sure you tap into Locked On College Basketball. For your second listen of the day on the YouTube side, we're going to send you to our 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. Again, thanks for making Locked On Podcast the #1 sports podcast network. We'll talk to you guys on Wednesday. Take it easy.